Well, welcome to Midlife Explorer. My name's David. I'm out tonight in one of my last drives of my 2024 Mazda CX50. It's a vehicle that we've owned for almost 2 years now and put 605 kilometers actually as we're driving tonight on it. So we've put lots of miles on the car in the last 20 months. It's actually been driven down to Prince Edward Island twice, as a matter of fact. And then, you know, normal day-to-day driving. We don't do a lot of driving around the neighborhood. I don't commute to work, for example. But we've managed to put over 44,000 kilometers on it in that 20-month period. So tonight I'm going to give you some basic things that we like about the car. Give you a quick idea of why we bought it and what we like about it. And then share with you a couple of things perhaps that could be better on the car, things perhaps they could fix if they're making enhancements to the CX50, and then leave you with some final thoughts. But anyway, so our 2024 Mazda CX50, it's the 2.5 turbo version. It's the GT version, so the top trim level, other than the Meridian. And we bought the car in January of 2024. So again, 20 months we've owned this vehicle. Now, when we were originally shopping for a car, we actually at that time had a Kia Sedona minivan, and we were no longer running a home-based daycare, which is, you know, our family business for 25 years. My wife ran that business, so we didn't really need a 3-row 7-passenger minivan anymore, and we wanted to downsize to something that still had space to move all of our stuff, especially when we're going down east, but wasn't as big as the Sedona minivan was, because it was quite a large van. We shopped amongst all of the Japanese competitors to the CX50, including even the actual Mazda CX-5 as well. But we looked at the RAV4, we looked at the CR-V, we looked at the Subaru Outback, I looked at the BMW X1, X3, although I would have had to have gone with used in order for those to fit into our price range, even an Infiniti QX50, and landed on the Mazda CX50. I thought out of the bunch, it was by far, at least in our price range, the best handling and the sportiest, and certainly fit our budget the best. We have been very happy with the car. I've been driving it for, again, almost 20 months. And there are a number of things that, if you were thinking about looking at this car, a number of things I'd highlight for you that were key reasons why we bought it. Number one on my list of, I guess, top 5 would be the actual look to the vehicle itself. If you look at the compact SUV market these days, especially the Japanese and the Korean manufacturers, they all basically look the same. They've all got minor differences, but you park one of those cars in a parking lot, it's pretty hard to find yours. So that was important to us, and I think that the Mazda CX50 has a much more aggressive, bold styling than the CR-V or the RAV4, for example, or even the Korean products. So I actually do really like the way it looks. I like the wheel flares on the back of the vehicle. It gives it a real presence, you know, when you look at it from a number of different angles. And I think that actually is a very sporty looking vehicle, especially with the rims that you get on the GT and the low profile tires. It's a great looking car, and it was probably the number one reason why we bought it, because I think it's the best looking SUV in the segment. Now, looks are subjective, right? Everybody's idea of what a good looking car looks like is different, but at least in my opinion, I think this is the best compact SUV as far as appearances are concerned in the segment, for sure. The second thing I really liked about the car is the actual drivetrain. This car comes with a 2.5 liter turbo 4-cylinder engine that puts out 226 horsepower if you don't run it on premium, and over 250 horsepower if you put premium gas in it. Over the course of the ownership of this vehicle, we've gone back and forth between premium and regular gas. When the gas prices drop down, I'll put premium in it, but when gas is expensive, as it tends to be during the summer months, I'll put regular in it. I haven't noticed a difference from a gas mileage perspective between regular and premium. The factory specified fuel economy on this car is 9.4 liters per 100 kilometers, and actually combined they state 9.4, and we're averaging 9.2. So That would suggest that we're not overly aggressive with the car, although I do like to drive it. And it's been pretty decent on gas. So that 2.5 liter engine is a great engine, especially the turbo version of it. It's also a reliable engine. We have a 2015 Mazda and a 2017 Mazda 6, and the 2017 Mazda 6 has essentially the same engine, but it's not turbocharged. And it's been a very reliable engine on our Mazda, and I expect that this one will be very reliable as well. So it's a good motor. It's got lots of power, lots of get up and go, lots of torque, especially off the line. That tends to be the case with turbos. So this has got 340 pounds-feet of torque on regular gas and 350 if you put premium in. So it gets up and goes. The car, you can drive it with some enthusiasm, and it moves quite well. Another thing I like about the CX50 is it's got a 6-speed automatic. It's got the same transmission that's in my Mazda 6. I much prefer 6-speed automatic compared to a CVT. I've owned vehicles that were CVTs in the past. I owned a Honda Accord, for example, a few years ago. It was a CVT. And I also had a couple of Nissan Quests over the years. I didn't really enjoy driving the Honda Accord, although it was reliable, never had a problem with it. The Nissan Quests, the CVTs in those cars were nothing but trouble. Had problems with both of those vehicles, so I really wanted to stay away from a CVT, which pretty much eliminates most of the competition right off the bat if you want to stay away from a CVT. The CR-V has a CVT, RAV4 has a CVT, and so does the Outback. So wasn't really interested in anything that had a CVT, and that's the reason why I was looking at the CX5, CX50, and a couple of other vehicles. So I do appreciate the drivetrain, engine and transmission. Makes the car a lot more fun to drive. Now, another great thing about the car is the handling. Now, it might not be for everybody. If handling isn't a priority for you, I found that the RAV4 and the CR-V and the Outback were softer. So if you want a plush ride, you might want to look at the competition. But if you like a car that handles well, this is the best vehicle for that. 100% guaranteed best vehicle in its segment as far as handling is concerned. And I really like the way that this car drives. When I hopped out, I used to drive the Mazda 6 all the time, hopped into this car and felt right at home. And I've continued to love driving this car. It's a great vehicle to drive. It's a great driver's vehicle, even though it's an SUV. The other nice thing about the car is, although it is a compact SUV, it doesn't sit as high as some of the other compact SUVs. Even though it's got more ground clearance than most of them, it still sits lower. And you definitely feel like you're in a driver's vehicle as opposed to driving the CR-V or the RAV4, for example. So I really love the way the car drives, and I've really enjoyed the vehicle for that reason. Now, another nice thing about this car, again, compared to its competitors, I think it's got the best interior. I think that, especially at this GT trim level, I think the leather is nice. I think the detail and the stitching is nice. And it's, for me at least anyway, when I was looking at the various different compact SUVs, especially for the Japanese and the Korean compact SUVs, this is by far the nicest interior compared to all the other cars. So I love being in this. It's a nice place to be. It's a comfortable cabin. Seats are a bit firm, but by the way, not too firm. I've driven this car to Prince Edward Island. When I was in Arkea, my sciatica used to bother me in that car on long rides. This one doesn't. So although the seats are firm, they're comfortable. And I have had this question before. Over time, the driver's seat has kind of broken in a little bit, so it's not quite as firm as it used to be, although it is still firm. Passenger seat doesn't get sat in as often, so it's still pretty firm. And I actually spent time in the passenger seat on our drive to Prince Edward Island this year, and I was just as comfortable in that seat as well. So firm but comfortable, and I do enjoy the interior of this car. Now, the fifth thing that I want to point out about this car, although it doesn't have the same kind of fuel economy as some of the hybrids that it competes against, considering the horsepower it's got, I was actually quite pleased with the fuel economy that I've been receiving. Again, it's advertised at 9.4 liters per 100 kilometers, and this is averaging 9.2. Now, I do live in small town Ontario, so I'm not in city driving all the time. So this is very typical of what I would be doing when I'm driving around here. I have done some city driving though, and it's always averaged in the low 9.2, 9.3 range. A little bit more than that when we were driving to PEI, but I had bicycles and kayaks on this car. But normally 9.2, 9.3 is the normal range. So it's actually achieving better fuel economy than what the actual sticker on the car advertised originally. And that for me is quite impressive. And what that basically says is, as far as miles per gallon are concerned, in the compact SUV category, I think it's the leader in miles per gallon, because it's still pretty decent on gas, and yet it's got probably the most horsepower, and I would think it's the quickest. I've never tested it against each of those for 0 to 60 times, but I definitely think this is the quickest in its category of compact SUVs. And for me, biggest smile you can get in this category as far as driving is concerned. Now, the CX50 is not perfect. There are some things I think can be improved upon. Now, these are all minor issues because, again, I highly recommend this vehicle. I'm going to be very disappointed to see it go. It just doesn't make sense for us to have two SUVs in the family, and we're looking basically for something a little larger. I'll give you more details about that in a second, but we just want a bigger vehicle. One of the most niggly things, though, that's really bothered me over the past couple of years of owning this vehicle is the Apple wireless CarPlay. I was very excited to get CarPlay in this vehicle because I don't have it in my 2017 Mazda 6 GT. So getting Apple CarPlay was great. It was a great bonus. And the fact that it was wireless was even better still, because most cars you got to plug it in. This one you don't. It's wireless. And you know what? Most of the time, especially if I've been driving this vehicle regularly, it works fine. I can tell you though, on our trip to Prince Edward Island this year, because we were using Google Maps rather than the navigation that's in the car, it probably dropped the CarPlay while we were driving a half dozen times. So it does drop the CarPlay, and then when we switch, when my wife drives the vehicle, she has an Android phone and I have an iPhone. If my wife's been driving the car, it's a real pain to get the CarPlay to reconnect to my iPhone. It doesn't do it naturally. Even when she's not in the car, it doesn't do it sometimes. And if she is in the car, even though I get in the car first, I can't connect my iPhone. I've got to literally get her to turn off her phone in order for me to connect my phone, even though my phone was the first one set up on this car, and as far as priority is concerned, it actually is set up as the one to be prioritized first. So the connectivity for CarPlay and Android Auto is a bit sketchy sometimes, and I'm pretty sure if you watch other reviews online, other people have said the same thing. For me, that's the biggest niggle with this, and I'm hoping in the CX70 that's been improved. The other thing that's kind of related to that is the wireless charging. It doesn't work all the time. As a matter of fact, I would suggest that it's more times not working than it is. Now, yes, I've got my phone in a case, but it's just a basic clear case, a MagSafe case, and I've really got to play around with where I put the phone in order to get the wireless charging working, so it doesn't work all that well. The other part that I have a bit of a niggle about is actually where the phone is located. I guarantee you when I get out of the car tonight to go back in the house, I'll forget my phone in the car. I do it every time. It's a constant annoyance because of the location. The phone sits underneath the armrest. Armrest is very comfortable, and the phone is conveniently at your fingertips. But unfortunately, when I get out of the car, I always forget where the phone is, and that can be quite annoying because it means I'm coming back out later on. You're wandering around the house trying to find your phone. Guess where it is? It's usually back in the car. So I'm glad that on the CX70, because I noticed this the other day, that they've moved the wireless charging further up in the car, and they've moved the cup holders on the side, which means that now at least I can see where my phone is, and I won't forget my phone in the car next time I'm in it. Another little niggly thing about this car is the safety suite. Now, I think the safety suite on this car is better than what I have in my Mazda 6, even though my Mazda 6 GT has all of the same things. I think most of them are better on this car. So for example, the backup camera, the 360 camera on this car is great. I like the options of how you can configure it. And it's got a really good camera system for that. I also like when you're backing out of the driveway, the cross traffic alert, the pedestrian alert. We've got lots of neighbors with dogs and children. When they're walking by, the car sees them and lets you know they're there. And the Mazda 6 did that as well. This is good when you're on the highway, you're changing lanes, all of that fun stuff is good. It also does even a pretty decent job of letting you know you're wandering out of your lane. So most of the safety features on this car are great, but one of the safety features that can be a bit annoying at times is the adaptive cruise controller, radar cruise control. I use it all the time. I think it's a fantastic feature. I got used to using it when I was driving my Mazda 6. And this one, most of the time, works great. I rely on it. It's one way of making sure that you're staying within the speed limit. And wherever I can, I try to use it. It does sometimes turn off though, especially at this time of night when the sun's going down. It doesn't seem to like the sun in the camera. It is a camera after all, but it sometimes will get affected by that. Same thing with things like snow and sleet and rain. Environmental conditions can often have an impact on the camera system of this car. I'm sure that this car is not unique in that problem. But I know that, for example, my Mazda 6, which is a 2017, is not as sensitive as this car is. So I think that that's one area that can be improved. One other small niggly thing, had more to do with when my wife is driving the car than myself. There's some buttons on the bottom row of the steering wheel here, and even in normal daylight, you can't really see what's on the buttons. Now, I drive the car enough that I know what's going on, but unfortunately my wife, who drives it less often, even though we've had the car almost 2 years now, she still doesn't know what all of these buttons do, and she can't see them when she looks down. So I think changing the color of the buttons would help. And I know that they've done that on the CX50, so it's better on the car that we're about to move to. But again, a minor thing, very niggly. Another thing that a lot of people comment on, and something that my wife mentions, although it's got a good infotainment system and the 12-inch display is great, it is recessed. And it does have a touch screen function, but only on Apple CarPlay. If you want to use the normal Mazda functions, you have to use the scroll wheel. Now, I mentioned earlier, we have a 2015 Mazda 3, a 2017 Mazda 6, and we've got this car. I've been using this scroll wheel for years, so I have no problem with it. Even when we're talking about Apple CarPlay, I don't touch the screen. I never do. But when my wife is driving, she wants to be able to touch it even when you're in the Mazda function. So if we pop down here and we go into the Mazda functions, when you're in the Mazda functions, you have to use the scroll wheel to use these. I'm very familiar with the menus. I know where everything is. This is not a problem for me, but my wife would prefer for it to be a touchscreen for everything. I get it. But if you think about the location of the touchscreen, it really isn't in a place where you want to be reaching for it and touching it anyway. Again, it's a design principle. They have decided to move it out of the way so you won't touch it and you use the scroll wheel. I think it's safer that way anyway to do so, but other people prefer to have the touch screen in order to do that. I think if that was the case, you'd probably want to have the screen closer to you in order to touch it without interfering with driving. Now, that means that you've got that tablet right in front of you. It looks like it's just been slapped on as an afterthought. I appreciate how they've designed the tablet to get integrated into the dash. I think it looks better that way. And I'm not a big fan of these massive screens that are coming with the newer cars. I mean, the 2025 CX50 at least has some traditional screens, and I like the traditional layout of this car. But some people have a problem with the infotainment interface. It's not a problem for me, but my wife actually would prefer to be able to use the touchscreen for everything. Anyway, those are some minor things. Overall, we've really liked the car. I'm sorry to see it go. I wish I could keep it. It just doesn't make sense for us to keep two SUVs. Now, the good news is it's hard to get a turbo CX50. There's not a lot of them around. and we got a very good trade-in on this car. As a matter of fact, it's the reason why we're moving to the CX70. We're purchasing a demonstrator, which means we're getting a very good price on the CX70, and I got a great trade-in on this car. So it didn't actually cost us an awful lot in order for us to drive this. There you go. There's that. So I mentioned before, driving into the sunset, and that, if you can see the message here, safety and driver support systems are temporarily disabled. And that's again because of the sunset. Low camera visibility, drive safely. So this happens every time you're driving into the sunset, or if it's raining hard, or if it's snowing hard. And I know it's a common problem, and I know other cars have this problem. My Mazda 6 didn't happen as often as it does in this car, nor in the Honda Accord I had a few years ago. It didn't have as many issues with this. So this is an area I think that can be improved. Maybe they can borrow some technology from Toyota, because I think Toyota's probably better at this than Mazda. Overall, the safety features in this car are great, but when you're driving on the highway and you're doing an hour, you know, coming back on the 401, for example, not being able to use your cruise control for an hour is a little bit annoying. But anyway, things to work on. Hopefully the CX70 will be better. We've really enjoyed the car. I think it's good value for the money. It's a blast to drive. Really, really like this vehicle. I think it's a real driver's car. I'm going to be sorry to see it go. I'm looking forward to getting the CX70. But if you like a vehicle that handles well, it's got plenty of power, and it's fun to drive, have a look at the CX50. Get the turbo version if you are looking for a little bit more performance. If you don't need the performance, then get the naturally aspirated 2.5 liter. We've got that engine in our car, and it's fine. It works great. If you're looking for something that gets better fuel economy, there's also a hybrid version of this car, although I hear they're very difficult to find. I'm not sure you'll be able to get one in Canada, and that's another reason why we are getting a plug-in hybrid of the CX70, and I'll tell you more about that in my next video. I'll give you a first impressions of the new car once we pick it up. But if you've liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're not familiar with what we do with Midlife Explorer, as the name would suggest, it's about what we do when we get outdoors. We like to kayak and ride our mountain bikes. Once the season is over, late fall, we like to hike, and we cross-country ski and downhill ski. It's all about getting outdoors, and we're typically out every Friday afternoon and sometimes on the weekends. And then when we're lucky enough to go away, you can even find lots of content from our times down in Prince Edward Island. So don't forget to check out some of the other videos on the channel. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and check out next week's video or some of the other videos. I would imagine we'll be back out kayaking a couple more times this year, if the water levels are good on the rivers. If not, we'll be out in the mountain bikes in the next couple of weeks, checking out some of the beautiful fall weather we've got in southern Ontario. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.